see moment. So, of course, we're going to look at the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, man. I could just see hell freezing over every time. All right, so of course you have Carson Wentz as your quarterback for right now. I don't think he got placed on the pup list. I think he's practicing at least on a limited basis, still practicing. But they got their backup, of course, and it's Nick Foles, who ended up winning the Super Bowl for them. I did not expect that. I still process that every now and then. Yep. All right, and so it doesn't matter. So they're not really going to rush Wentz back into the fray. They'll take their time, making sure he's 100% healed, 100% ready before it's time to have him be the starting quarterback. They're ready. They're prepared to have Foles be the main guy. And of course, their running back right now is Jay Ajayi. But one thing that they do is that I think the Eagles are doing is that they're going to have this 4-man scheme. They're going to have this constant rotation. Everyone's going to get a few amount of touches. I think, of course, the first 4 running backs are probably going to be like Sproles, Donnell Pumphrey, Ajayi, and Clement. I think Sproles is still on the team. Not sure. Could be absolutely positively wrong. But still, they'll have probably like 4 running backs. Each get probably like 10 to 15 touches. Trying to keep guys healthy and keep a certain type of rotation and especially keep up the longevity of some of these backs like Ajayi and Clement. And of course, the wide receiver, it's a very sneaky and dangerous wide receiving core. You got Alshon Jeffrey and Al Galore. Jeffrey, who they did extend, and Al Galore, who had a very surprising season in 2017. And of course, the 3 receiver, I think it might be Mac Hollins. He's a guy that the Eagles really like. Not only can play very good special team, but a sneaky good wide receiver. I do believe that they'll give him more snaps as time goes on, especially as the season goes on. And of course, the 4th receiver that they have is Mike Wallace, who they got in free agency. I think he unfortunately might lose snaps to Mac Hollins as the season goes on, just because they really want this guy to turn out to be one of their better wide receivers. And I think they'll have a couple other young wide receivers also take some snaps. But overall, still a very good wide receiving core. Still very good. I really like the exciting potential of this, but it's going to be interesting, very interesting. Of course, you have your tight ends. You have Zach Ertz, one of the most exciting and elite receiving tight ends. Hopefully, he can just stay healthy. And of course, their backup, 2nd-round pick Dallas Goedert. Yeah, I really didn't expect that. But really, they did it just to give a middle finger to the Dallas Cowboys, which I gotta say, very clever. So they'll be. So there's without a doubt they'll be fine. Even if Ertz goes down, they'll have Goedert stepping in and yeah, he'll definitely fill the loss of Trey Burton. Of course, the offensive line, probably one of the best offensive line in the NFL. Your tackles are Jason Peters and Lane Johnson. I think Peters is steadily on his way out, but I think they'll do fine getting a replacement if they don't have one already. And of course, you got Lane Johnson, who's one of the best right tackles in the NFL. Your interior is Brian Brooks and Stefan Wininski. And your center is Jason Kelce, who has managed to stick around all this time. Overall, it's a very dangerous offensive line. I think it's one of the huge reasons why this offense is as great as it is. It's definitely that offensive line. Same thing with Dallas, of course. Their strong offensive line is definitely its bread and butter. I think if there's one guy they can't afford to lose, it's probably I would have to say Lane Johnson. I don't think they could. I think if he goes down for a majority of games, it could really open up some holes, or even losing Brandon Brooks, one of their key free agents. I think if he goes down, there'll be some issues. But otherwise, their offensive line is definitely one among the elite in the NFL. Of course, their defense. I think they can just go ahead and play a 5-man defensive front because their defensive line is stacked. Sure, you got Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett with Fletcher Cox and Timmy Jernigan, but then they go outside, Holty Nagda, trade for Michael Bennett, and they also draft Josh Sweat. By God, that's a crowded defensive line. I think they should just play a 5-2-4 as their base, just so they can give each and every one of these guys some playing time. Because holy crap! I mean, you got a lot of mouths to feed. I think I don't see them trading any one of these players. Well, okay, I can see like Nagda, this could be his last season, and maybe Michael Bennett might get very, very limited snaps. But they also want to give Barnett, Sweat, and Brandon Graham a ton of snaps. I think Brandon Graham's the most underrated edge rusher because he doesn't get a ton of sacks, but man, does he affect the quarterback. I think he led the NFL in pressures. He's that good, and of course, he also had that strip sack fumble recovery against the Patriots, which helped him win the Super Bowl. That should also show how dangerously good he is. Of course, the linebacking core is also it's pretty underrated. I think Jordan Hicks, very good linebacker. Unfortunately, he's recovering from a ruptured Achilles tendon. Hopefully, he can rebound. And of course, they got Nigel Bradham. They were very happy to have him back. They got a couple other guys that they do want to try out, but I think it's mostly going to be Hicks and Bradham. They did trade away Michael Kendricks to the Cleveland Browns, which I thought was very, very shocking. And of course, at corner, it's very okay, I guess. I mean, they did lose Patrick Robinson, who had a breakout season, but I don't think they'll have much problem replacing him. I think Jalen Mills is pretty overrated. He's not as... I think quarterbacks are not afraid to test him, and he can be very hit or miss, sometimes with more emphasis on the miss. They're also hoping to have Sidney Jones recover from his unfortunate pro day injury where he ruptured his Achilles. I really do hope he can rebound. I thought he was one of the better prospects in the NFL draft in 2017. It was a darn shame to see him go away. See him get hurt. I think they're going to bring him in slowly. He won't be a day one starter unless he just steps foot in training camp and dominates like he'd never miss a day. He never miss a season. I mean, unlikely as it may be, it's still something to keep a ear on. And of course, they also have Ronald Darby, who they traded for last season, and another draft pick, Rasul Douglas, a very good tall zone corner. And of course, at safety, you have Ronnie McLeod and Malcolm Jenkins as your safeties, a very good safety combo. Overall, this defense, of course, is very, very good. I think the defensive line is going to carry that entire team. The linebacker is something I do want to keep an eye on because getting rid of Kendricks was definitely pretty surprising for me. I guess they wanted better, or they have someone who can probably do his job and be slightly cheaper, I guess. I really do like Hicks, but coming off a ruptured Achilles, that's going to be something to keep your tabs on. The secondary, the safeties are fine, but I do want to see how this cornerback core does. The cornerback's depth entirely, with Darby, Douglas, Jones, and Mills. I think those are probably your first four corners, but I don't know. I want to see someone stand up and stand out. Which one do you think can actually cover guys like Odell Beckham, who's really the only wide receiver I would actually fear in the NFC East? So, yeah, more I think about it, they don't really need an elite. They don't really need this standout elite corner because the real wide receiver that they have to fear is Odell Beckham. At least just in the NFC East, Dallas doesn't have Dez Bryant anymore. The Redskins don't have Jackson and Garcon, and there's no real clear standout wide receiver on a team. So, I mean, in I'm talking about the Redskins, of course. There's no real standout wide receiver. However, this is something I do want to try. I do wish they would just keep an ear to the ground on, see if they can probably do better. See if they can probably get a guy who can stand out. Another one would probably be, maybe wide receiver. I do want to see one of these guys step up and stand out. And if it doesn't happen, etc. Ah, jeez. And of course, with training camp now starting for many different teams, it's one thing I do want to see happen is definitely, what's going to happen with Carson Wentz. Do you think what's happening to the running backs is still going to happen entirely? The 4-man running back scheme. Not sure. And of course, looking at the schedule, of course, they open the regular season against the Atlanta Falcons, and this is where I say getting that number one corner is definitely going to be kind of an issue because they're going against a guy like Julio Jones. I can definitely see a lot of safety help with like Malcolm Jenkins, but I do want to see them have that number one corner that can say, okay, can you handle Julio? Can you handle him well? I think they had a scheme that worked out fine in a divisional game because I do remember they did play them. But I think they got lucky on a couple. I think they did get kind of lucky on a couple things. I don't know if Mills could handle Julio again, but that will definitely be a matchup to watch when watching kickoff. Julio versus whatever corner they put on him. And of course, other teams, with elite standout wide receivers are, the Buccaneers with Mike Evans, but I think the defensive line can probably get enough pressure on Jameis Winston to where he probably won't do anything. Going against the Vikings, of course, with Adam Thielen. They did beat him in the NFC Championship. I will give him that, but this is a different quarterback. Now they're playing against Kirk Cousins, who they know how to deal with. So there is that. Of course, playing against the Giants, like I mentioned. They also have to play the Saints this season, who have Michael Thomas. The Rams now have Brandon Cooks. The Texans with DeAndre Hopkins. Ooh, that will be interesting. But otherwise, this should be a fairly good game with some. I think they got some good favorable matchups on them. I think looking at all these games, there's a great chance they'll make it back to the playoffs. Maybe win the NFC East again, depending how they go against Dallas. I think realistically, they probably would split the matchups evenly. Probably win at home, and the other would lose on the road, etc., etc. And I think this team could probably go. I'll go ahead and say 12-4 with a possible division win. I think their tougher games probably going to go against the NFC North and some of the the NFC South, and of course with a couple rematches like going against the Falcons and the Vikings, who also did improve. And of course, new matchups like going against the Saints and Rams, those are also going to be interesting to watch to see how they do. And if there's one game I do want to watch, it has to be December 23rd game, Week 16, going against the Houston Texans. Because I want to see a healthy Watson going against hopefully a healthy Wentz, battle it out and see what happens. Definitely see what happens. And do I see him as a Super Bowl contender for the NFC? Yeah, I do. I think they're one of the 3 NFC teams in my list who could represent the NFC for the Super Bowl.